I've opened up both the texture and the UV map for the Coke can. And on the texture that will wrap around the can itself, I'm going to duplicate the layer. And then I'm going to go to Filter and Noise, and I'm going to add some noise. And maybe I'll set it for maybe 12 Gaussian and monochromatic, and I'll click OK. And I'm going to hit W on the keyboard, and I'm going to switch to my magic wand tool. In the tolerance, I'll set it for 2. And now I'll click anywhere inside the viewport here. Making a selection, I'll then right-click, hold my mouse, and choose Similar. I'll hit Command J on the keyboard to put it on its own layer. With that new layer I just created, I'll go down to FX, and I'm going to add Bevel and Emboss to it. And you can see immediately it starts to highlight those little pixels that are on that separate layer. So in here you would just play around with the size. I've got it set for an inner bevel, chisel soft, and the size and the softness is really subjective, but I just want this to look like the can is a little bit older. And then once I've played with the size and the depth, I'm going to go down and I'm going to put the inner glow on it, and you'll see it adds a little patina around the edges of the document, the actual texture as well as individual pixels. And I'll click OK. Now I'm going to rasterize that because I don't want it to appear on all of it, so I'll right click on the new layer and I'll choose Rasterize Layer Styles. And then I'll go down and put my layer mask on. I'll get my brush. I'll make sure my brush hardness is 0. And then the size, I think maybe I'll just start off with the size that is maybe 200. This is very subjective as well. But essentially all we're going to do is hide where some of this takes place. Put black on top, and I can kind of go in and remove some of this. And I'll go ahead and save. And now I'm going to copy and paste it into the UV map. I'll hit Command A to select all, Command Shift C to copy merge because I have 2 layers here, and then I'll go to the UV map and I will paste it in, and I'll kind of place it in position. I've opened up the can top, and now I'm going to copy and paste it in. I'll hit W on the keyboard and I'll select the white background. I'll select the inverse and I'll hit Command C, and I'll go to my UV map and I'll paste that in and I'll put that into position. I'm going to add one more blank layer down below these 2, and I'm going to make it a gray. I'll use my eyedropper and sample a gray from the top of the lid, and I'll just fill it, and I'll hit Command S to save. I'll turn off the UV map and hit Command S once again. Now we'll jump into Maya and we'll apply it to our can. In Maya I'm going to right click and choose Material Attributes with the can selected, and in the attributes on the right hand side I'll right click on the word Color and choose Break Connection. I'll go back out where I applied the checkerboard, but this time I'm going to click on the word File, and I'll just go out and find my texture, and I'll click Open. And if you don't see the texture immediately, hit 6 on the keyboard with it selected and it'll show up. Now when I hit 3 on the keyboard and deselect in my object mode, there's my texture. Now the next thing we did was we just made it a little bit more ragged looking. And I'm going to do that by using my rotation and my move tool. There are a number of ways in which to do it, but this will be the quickest, easier way to do it. So what I will do is hit 5 on the keyboard so I can kind of see the geometry by itself. And I'm going to hit W on the keyboard, and I'll double click on the tool over on the toolbar here on the left hand side of the user interface. And I'm going to open up Soft Select. And I'll put Soft Select on, and I'll keep it set pretty low, and I'll adjust this as I use it. Selecting my geometry, I'll right click and choose Vertex. And as I roll my cursor over vertex, you can see that there are colors extending from it, and that just signals that there will be some editing going on with those surrounding areas as well. So the higher the number, the more influence on the surrounding pixels, the lower, obviously, the less. So I'll just go in and kind of play with these a little bit, and then I'm going to rotate and actually bend the can more or less in half. So I'll play around with this. Maybe I'll bump it to 1. It gets pretty subjective. And now I'm going to bend the can further by rotating it by selecting vertices. I'm going to take the soft select off for a moment. And then I'm going to go to face, and maybe I'll just select some faces from here to there. Holding down D, I can move the pivot to where I would like it to rotate on. Hitting E, I'll get my rotation tool, and I'll bend it that way. And maybe I'll do a little bit for the same on the bottom. So this gets really subjective. And when you're done, you should have something similar to this.